Buenos dias, y'all. RGT85 here. Hope everyone is having a great Sunday or whenever you are watching this video. But we got some video game news to talk about. Obviously, we got a little bit of an update on the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. But there's another thing I want to talk about briefly before we get into that. So if this is your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like and share the video, all that crap. But without any further ado, let's talk about what's going on in the world of video games. And I want to give a little bit of a shout out here to Kit and Krista from Nintendo Minute. Now, if you're subscribed to the Nintendo YouTube channel, you would know that Nintendo Minute was a show that started I want to say 8 or 9 years ago. And it was a very interesting show, kind of like a talk show, a morning talk show about Nintendo stuff that would happen once a week. They did over 400 episodes. Well, they announced on Friday that their last episode was actually the episode that they just put up, and that they will be going into different ventures. Now, whether those ventures are within Nintendo themselves and moving on to something else, that really remains to be seen. I know Kit did stuff, or at least does stuff at Nintendo, or previously did stuff at Nintendo, that would sort of let him get into more other things, you know, marketing and whatnot. And I'm sure Krista got a job opportunity based on that as well. But it's kind of interesting to see this show go away because there really wasn't any sort of lead up to it. It was just like, here's the final episode, bye bitches. And it's like, well, what happened? Did something happen behind the scenes or whatnot? And while yes, this show definitely wasn't for me, you know, it was definitely more of a safe show. You know, it was definitely very Nintendo created content that really anyone could watch. I mean, I still feel like it did hold a place in video game news and information. Obviously, they would get stuff like early unboxings because, I mean, it's a Nintendo related channel, but it is a shame to see it go. It wasn't a show that I watched all that much or anything like that, but I feel like it's kind of interesting because it seems like Nintendo seems to be taking away more sort of marketing stuff ever since Doug Bowser came into fruition. You know, you never hear Doug Bowser talk really, whereas with Reggie, you constantly saw him, you constantly heard about him. Nintendo Minute was kind of a product of that Reggie era, and that Reggie era obviously is coming to a close at Nintendo. Now, of course, Nintendo of America is just essentially a marketing firm, so why would you take away one of your marketing things? I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on it too much. I'm sure there is a very valid reason, but yeah, we're going to pour one out. Not literally, because these are hardwood floors and I don't feel like cleaning it up, but we're going to pour out a 40 to Nintendo Minute. RIP show. You had a good run. Yeah, made a lot of friends along the way. It's all about the journey more so than the end of the journey. I don't know what I'm talking about, but did you watch this show? Because honestly, I really didn't, unless it was something interesting like an unboxing or whatnot. So let me know in the comment section down below. And finally, one of the biggest games of 2022 that we at least know about already arguably has to be The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Obviously, they're going to expand upon a lot of things. There's a lot of different gameplay mechanics. We made a video a couple days ago going over the new gameplay mechanics that are pretty much confirmed to be in here via patents that were discovered. And there's some very interesting stuff as far as the traversal system is concerned and as far as the combat system is concerned. I made a video about it, like I said, a couple days ago. Make sure you guys check that out for the more in-depth analysis and sort of how it's going to be actually used in the game, because I think there's a lot of cool stuff in there. But one thing that a lot of people have been concerned about with The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 is this actually a 2022 game? Obviously, we've seen a ton of games get announced and then get a release date and then of course get delayed. So is this game still scheduled to be on track for 2022? Because really, I mean, when you look at what happened with Sony, whether they were lying or not, I definitely think they were lying. But think of how many games were supposed to come out in 2021 for the PlayStation 5 and really the PlayStation 4 as well. And then those games, of course, got delayed until the next year. Obviously, they're having to deal with situations like COVID and work-related stuff. It's something that's ever changing and ever growing. But is The Legend of Zelda still a 2022 game when it comes to Breath of the Wild 2? Well, there was an interesting interview that happened over on the Nintendo podcast, Nintendo voice chat, I believe it's called, from IGN, which, why haven't I gotten an invite to that? Like, yeah, you know, I'm not the Nintendo Minute guy. I'm a little rough around the edges, but shit, Brian Altano, just let me come on there for an episode and have a little fun, you know, we'll make some jokes and stuff. You can always censor me, you know, put little bleeps and boops over things that I say, or maybe just cut things out that I shouldn't say. But yeah, so over on the Nintendo podcast for IGN, Pierre Schneider, who is of course the head of IGN, was actually on this show, and he was talking about Breath of the Wild 2 and said the following. It does sound like Nintendo is going to have a pretty good year next year. So I would not take the absence of big stuff at the Game Awards as a sign that maybe Breath of the Wild 2 is delayed or that they don't have other stuff, because it sounds like the people at Nintendo are very excited about 2022. He also went on to say that he has heard Breath of the Wild 2 is still on track for a 2022 release date. So I think that's a very interesting statement for a multitude of reasons. Let's get the elephant out of the room first. That being, of course, the Game Awards sort of thing. We're saying that, oh, well, Breath of the Wild 2 wasn't at the Game Awards, so it might be delayed. And obviously, there's some people out there that have that mindset, and it's crazy to me because really it was just sort of brought up by false rumors. We talked about those rumors a million times on the channel. What did I keep saying? Breath of the Wild 2 is not going to be at the Game Awards more than likely. If you get anything Zelda related, it might be Majora's Mask dropping on the Nintendo Switch for the Virtual Console service. Of course, none of those things happened. We got nothing from Zelda. We got really nothing from Nintendo except an award acceptance speech for Metroid Dread. And for some reason, people are equating that with, you know, there being a problem at Nintendo with a lot of their main games. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? Why would you think that? If that's the case, then I guess Sony and I guess Microsoft are having problems as well, because Microsoft showed off one game with Hellblade 2. And of course, Sony showed off Horizon. And we've already seen that game a million times. So we have to get past this Game Awards mindset that if there's not something at the Game Awards, it's not a good sign for the game, because that's an absolutely bizarre thing. But with Breath of the Wild 2 still being on schedule for 2022, then yes, Nintendo is going to have a very, very promising year. We already know about a lot of different things that are scheduled to release in 2022. Games like Bayonetta 3, games at the start of the year like the new Kirby game, and of course Pokemon Legends Arceus. And these are just the things that we know about. And pretty much every year you get Nintendo related games that you didn't know about that are coming out in that same year, especially around E3 time. Look at something like Metroid Dread, which of course popped up out of nowhere, and they're like, hey bitches, we're releasing this in October. And everyone was like, wow, how did we not know about that? That's just sort of how Nintendo goes about things. When you look at the Game Awards and the games that were announced at the Game Awards, a lot of those games are many years away. That Star Wars game isn't coming out till like 2024, 2025, so why announce it? Like, I don't get that. If it's a year or 2 years, oh, okay, you know, I could work with that. You're obviously going to give me developmental updates on the thing as well. But if it's a game that's so far out that no one's going to really remember it until you reintroduce it, what is the point of talking about it in the first place? And you could definitely say that about Metroid Prime 4, but at least we know that that game went through development hell and pretty much had to be burned and brought back up into prominence, because they pretty much burned the original game down to the ground because of issues and just a lack of quality with the game, according to Nintendo themselves. But going back to Breath of the Wild 2, I fully believe this is going to be a 2022 game. I think if any game ends up getting delayed out of the games that we know about, it would probably be Bayonetta 3, because, well, we've seen something from that, but it feels like Platinum just has a lot on their plate right now, maybe too much to have on their plate than one company should have, but they have been growing, so I don't know. But I'm definitely very interested to see when Breath of the Wild 2 for the Nintendo Switch ends up launching, because that's going to be a very big thing. Is this indeed a holiday title? Is this a mid-2022 title, or will it slip into 2023? It seems like a lot of people in the know are saying that this will indeed be a 2022 title. They're not foreseeing any sort of issues that would arise with this and make this game to get delayed. And I think that's very important, because as the Nintendo Switch goes on, we're starting to see more and more issues with the hardware in terms of power, in terms of things like cloud gaming, in terms of things like, you know, questionable online stuff. So the software is what's really going to drive this system into the next year. And, you know, are we going to see a revision? Is there going to be another revision announcement? Is Nintendo going to get crazy like they usually do with their handhelds and start talking about more revisions? It's going to be a very exciting year, though. I think no matter what console you own, you're going to have an exciting year in 2022, just based on announcements, reveals, and new games that are coming out to it, because it's going to be a very healthy year for the video game industry. Usually those first few months of spring, there's kind of a lull in the action, but we're not really getting that at all with this. So do you foresee The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 being a 2022 game after all? Do you think this game will slip into 2023? And what are these other surprises that Nintendo has in store? We know about some things, but what are the things that you think might pop up that we don't actually know about yet, we're not even really thinking about? So I don't know how you would be thinking about it, but maybe you're a soothsayer. You could see into the future or some shit. Let me know in the comments down below. Alrighty, so that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to give me your feedback in the comments section down below. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like and share the video. I don't know what the hell's going on with the Knicks. They keep taking away our best players to health and safety protocol. Delay of the season. You know, give them a week off. It'll give them 10 days, 2 weeks off. Let everyone get healthy. You know, let everyone get, you know, their immune systems in line. And then let them play again, because this is bullshit. You're ruining my season with all this nonsense. And I don't know. I just don't like it. I don't like it. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.